Well, it's Kai, and I haven't done one of these talk videos in a while, but this is the perfect time to do them, I think, because there's just a lot of things to talk about, and I get to test out, like, a camera, right, a new camera that I got. So, what are we talking about today? It is promos. Now, promos have been a big issue in the West, especially, and I'm gonna throw a hot take out there, is that the promos are great, right? Just not in the West. Just not in the West. In Japan, they're really good. Now, I'll talk about why, right? Why are they good in Japan? So if you look at, I had a chat with Different Fight, right? And if you look at his Twitter, you find that he's at locals every day, right? I have a theory that even if he's talking about school, he's saying, oh, I'm not at locals. He's actually at locals. He's just covering it up with other stuff. So it doesn't look like he's addicted to playing locals, right? And I think that's a big issue. That's a big difference in Japan versus the West, right? Is that you can access locals very, very easily. There is a locals going on at any time, right? As long as the trains work. And unless you live in the boondocks or in the middle of nowhere, you could probably open up Bushi Navi like 4 p.m. on a weekday and find 2 locals to go to. And just go there and play and get your PR, right? And that's great. And if just by the numbers, apparently in Japan, the locals numbers, people joining locals have been skyrocketing because of how good these PRs are. And if you think about how locals works in Japan versus the West, in Japan, if you go to a locals, you're basically paying like, I think like 200, 300 yen. That's probably around $3 US, which is actually probably better. Like it's probably like $2 US because, you know, the USD is amazing right now. And what you get is you get a PR. That's pretty much what you get. I think the winners also get like another PR pack. And that's not a bad deal because you're basically going to locals for the PR. And if your PR is worth like $30, $50 sometimes on release, then, you know, $2 becoming 2-3 meals is a pretty good trade-off. Maybe 4 meals. You know, this is a $30 PR, $50 PR. It depends when you go, right? It depends what you pull. Even the worst case scenario is you pull like the Chaos PR or the Roller PR, which is like the cheapest. I think there's actually worse ones. All right, you're still getting a return on your money, right? They might be worth like $5, $10. It's still good, right? In the West, it's kind of different because you go to locals and what you do is you pay like, for me, it's 15 Australian dollars, which is kind of like in 10 USD, and you get a participation pack and you get a promo pack, right? So you're going there, and the key thing you're getting is not the promo pack; it's just the participation booster pack. And then if you win more, you get more booster packs. So you know the appeal there maybe not as great because you are paying more money for that, right? And we don't get as many locals, so that is why the PR situation works in Japan versus in the West. It doesn't work. Like, in terms of locals, how many I have in my immediate area, basically places that I can go to that is less than 1 hour away from me. There are 3. I can go to 3 locals a week, but I can realistically only go to 1 because the locals that happen are on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, right? And Saturday it's like 10 a.m. But then the Tuesday and Friday one, they are at around like 5 p.m. So I have a job, right? I have to work. I have to do that stuff. I can't go because I have to work, right? So there we go. I can only join 1 locals. But even on those Saturday 10 a.m. locals, I actually sometimes do have things to do. I might have to get a haircut. I might have to buy glasses. I have to buy groceries, things like that, right? I might have to sleep. Yeah, I might have to sleep, right? So, you know, joining local, so that 1 locals I can go to, I might not even be able to go. Yeah. And that's kind of a problem because if these PRs that are coming out from these tournament packs are very important, like this Ava PR, I can't get them unless I buy them, which there might not be any stock in Australia, right? There is not really any place that sells singles, so I have to rely on other people, you know, cracking it and selling it to me, or I go to Facebook. Who uses Facebook? Yeah, who uses that? Yeah, and you go, hey, do you guys have stuff willing to buy, you know, WTB, and seeing if people want to lend me the promo. Like, the realistic thing is like the pack got delayed by like a month because just logistics, and it comes out. It came out like I think beginning of November. I have a BCS next week, and I basically have I had 2 chances to join locals, but I was kind of busy last week, so I can't go. So I had 2 chances to crack 2 Ava PRs, be able to play the deck, but I can't. Alright, I probably can't. And this Saturday, I think I have something to do, so again, can't join locals. But even if I was lucky and could join those 2 locals and miraculously crack those two promos from that Ava PR, I mean 2 Ava PRs from the promo pack, out of like I think 6 cards that come with it, I'm still missing 2, right? I'm still missing 2. I'm relying on other people to crack it. They might not crack it. They just might not, right? There might not even be enough people at locals to crack it. Like the PR. So there's that. But yeah, I have to just say it's not easy for the West to crack those promos, right? And very different from Japan. Now, I have to also say, this isn't the first time that promos were an issue. I know a lot of people have mentioned before that, back then we also had promo issues too. It's a bit different though now, right? I think what comes to mind immediately back then, right, about the good old days of promos, is things like Miyamaru, right, for Murakumo. That was a really important promo that we didn't get for a while. And then something like the Neo Nectar Token Cloner Grade 2, that was also not out for a while. There is a big difference. There is a big difference. Back then, those promos, I think they were like WGP promos, so you had to go to a WGP with like, I think some token that you could trade for them. And then that's how you got those promos. That's why those promos back then were very, very expensive. Well, more expensive compared to their local shop challenge kind of promo things. But the deal breaker there was that the promos didn't, if you didn't have them in the West, it didn't mean your deck was unplayable, right? So Miyamaru, great card for Hyuga back then, just gave nice power, right? And if you had, the Token Cloner for Neo Nectar, your deck was just that good. But it didn't mean that Neo Nectar was garbage, right? It was still okay. Hyuga still won tournaments without the PR. I can attest to that as well. Just go to see a Vanguard deck recipes, one of the tournaments, you might see a familiar name. But yeah, the deck was still playable. And then the other kind of promos that came out, let's say something like Claret Sword Support, that was them going, hey, Claret Sword, that Claret Sword archetype released back then, maybe half a year ago or a year ago. That archetype was kind of doo-doo. It was very good. Let's release a card that can make it slightly better, and people will be happy, right? I think the Ultimate promo was kind of the same thing. I think Ribble was the same thing too. So those kind of fixed issues. The biggest problem in my mind with these new promos is they go, Set 5 gets released, then these promos come out a couple of months later, and they look like they're incredibly important cards for their archetype, right? Especially the Ava promo, the Ava research. Because I remember when we were looking at those Ava reveals back then, we're going, dude, if this archetype gets a second research order, this deck, really good deck. And we never got them. We never got that. Until a couple of months later, they released it as a promo, and you're going, why couldn't they have put it in the pack? Right? Why couldn't it have been released back then too? And yeah, we're kind of entering like theories, right? How maybe they created Ava and it had this, and they go, how about we put this extra research in the promo pack, and then people have to go to the locals and get them. I mean, we're entering that kind of like theory. Maybe it was like actual, they try to fix the arc. Maybe they went like, set 5, supposed to be a banger set. Supposed to be really good. Everyone was going, there is no way this set could do badly, because we put in MLB, we put in PBD, we put in the Drawing Oval at the end, and then we also have like these new Jewel Nation cards. It's gonna be amazing. But then it wasn't that amazing, and they go, you know what? Back then those sets were kind of not strong enough compared to everything else that was released, like Grade 4s. So let's fix them up now. But it's kind of like, it's all theory here. The key thing is the optics look bad. The optics just look bad. There is no denying that, I think, right? And I mean, even Dragonic Oval at the end has that promo as well, and that's really, really annoying. But your promos can't be this strong and at the same time be relatively hard to attain, right? And the same thing with Shelling Cannon. Shelling Cannon Dragon, Flagberg, it's like I mean, some people say it's a really good deck. Some people say it's not as good. But when Shelling Cannon gets released, it is good. Alright, it is good. And that coming out as a promo, if you look at, I think the prices in Japan, I think it was going like 5,000 yen or something like that. It was really, really high. It costs a lot of money to get this flag book promo. And the optics look really, really bad. There shouldn't be promos that are this important to the deck that is also this hard to get. Because let's think about it from another perspective, right? I'm a new player. I go, hey, I want to play Vanguard. I want to play, that dragon that looks like a boat. And how do I build it? Well, I'll buy the main deck. I'll buy these 46 cards in the deck, right? Costs like not much money. And then I want to buy these last 4, but they cost more than the entire deck combined. Because it's like 5,000 yen times 4, right? So how does a new player get into the game like this? They go, that costs way too much money. Do I have to play Magnolia? No one wants to play Magnolia, right? They could play Maelstrom when it comes out, but hey, that's a different story, right? But yeah, it's not a good look. I think I read some Japanese tweets as well where they're going, well, now that the season for Ava is over, right? You can't. It's not the promo pack anymore. The order is not in the promo pack anymore because it's the new stuff. How will new players play Ava? And the answer is, they probably will have trouble. We'll have trouble, right? So, how do we actually... We've established that there's a lot of things wrong with the promo. There were some good things about these promos for Japan, but for us, so far, it sounds like it's been all, not great. Well, what are some solutions? So, Booster had already released a kind of letter a couple of days / a week back regarding the promo situation, and they said that they were going to release box toppers for certain PRs that from set 9 onwards, and then for tournament stores as well, because they have two kind of promos, right? So they have the local shop challenge or shop tournament promo that it's like the monthly one that changes, and then they have the ones where if you buy 8 packs, you get a promo pack as well that comes with kind of slightly different promos. Some of them are the same compared with the monthly shop ones, but some of them are different. And I think the biggest issue one is just sometimes logistics happen. It's a separate pack. Sometimes people just don't get them. There's not enough. There's a bunch of things that really kind of didn't work out. The intention was right. It's getting people into LGSs, buying from LGSs rather than from your online shops. But it's like an extra thing that could go wrong, and I feel like it just kind of did go wrong, right? So what's going to happen is a bunch of those things are going to go into box toppers, and then for the certain LGSs, you'll also get packs that come with your purchases that come in foils, right? They come in foils. So there's going to be more cards being distributed, at least for that promo side. But the one thing that really worries me, though, is that, sure, that fixes that box, the tournament, buying pack PR issue, but what about the monthly ones, the monthly PRs that don't come in those packs, like the Ava PR, for example? That's not coming from those packs. You have to participate in your monthly locals to get them. And it's since those things come in set 9 as well, that's a long time. One of my solutions, straight up, is just increase more cards inside a PR pack, right? Right now, I think they come with 1 card, right? Imagine if that was 3-4 cards. There's just going to be way more floating around. Going to a locals once a week suddenly feels pretty good, right? Because you can finish more decks. You have more tradability with those cards. Secondary market, there's more floating around. And then, there's the prices are lower, which I think is very, very important, right? So just by, just increase the amount of cards you have in a PR pack. Because we're not the same as, we're not the same as Japan. We don't have a locals every day. We have, you probably go to 1 locals a week, that is it. Even if you miss out a week, right, you don't feel bad because, you join the one next week, you still get a bunch of PRs that come from that as well. So there's more, just basically more of these packs floating around. Let's get people into these stores, as well as just kind of, get more of these cards out, if they're so important. Because, sure, you could, the ideal situation is just go, don't print these important cards as PR. But, we know how things are. We know how things are. Bushiroad Japan, sometimes Bushiroad International, you know, they're kind of on parallel tracks, or they're kind of going, I don't know, it's like I think of a train scenario where they have different ideas, right? Sometimes it works here, but doesn't work out there, you know, that kind of thing. But what is a solution that can just work for us? I think just by increasing the amount of cards in the PR packs would help as a step one. I think step two, they do need to have a reprint policy for these PRs, right? And I think it'll be something like, I think an ideal one would be something like in 2 sets, right? It will be reprinted, just straight up reprinted, and that would help. So let's say, you know, this important PR comes out during set 5, then in set 7, this PR will be reprinted, right? I know in Weiss, right? Schwartz, another Bushiroad game, they do have an interesting kind of reprint, ways to reprint PRs, because that did have like that kind of does have a PR problem, where the box toppers are really strong. And then they'll kind of like, in the second set of the series, they would print a card that is the same as that, you know, as that card, except with a different name. So it's functionally it's the same, but it's just a different name. And you can just, you know, players can just play that instead, while the PR kind of retains its value because it's a different card, but it's the same card kind of thing. And it's very rare as well in Y Schwartz, though, that you would want to run like 8 of the same card. So usually those PR cards that become really expensive are just kind of utility cards. They're nice to have. So, you know, when they get reprinted, people just run 2 of that, right? That's kind of cool. It's been done in Vanguard as well. I remember way back, you know, in like there was a dog, like a brave dog that countercharged, and that was a PR, and then it came out in the TD as like a not dog, but it was like brave, and it kind of countercharged. It did the same thing, and you know, you wouldn't want to run like 8 of that card anyway, or you might, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, it has been done before. It's a bit weird for like D though, because I can see myself running 8 Macrolites if given the option, right? It's just an amazing card, right? I could see myself running like 6 of the research order, 6 Ava research orders, because it's so good, right? It's so good. So I feel like in D this could be more abused, because you don't have to worry that much about deck ratios. You can just run more good cards and it'll kind of work itself out. So I feel like that kind of option, although it's been done before, you know, it's maybe not the best solution. So I just think straight up reprinting it in a later set, and also just letting players know, right? Letting players know, hey, don't worry about it. Your cards, we have a policy now. These cards get reprinted around this time. So even if you miss out, you still can play the set kind of 2 sets later, maybe even 1 set later. The key thing is just letting these PRs still retain some kind of value, because it incentivizes players to still go to the shops, because you can play these decks earlier, but then if you miss out later on, you can still play them, right? You can still play them. So I think those 2 things should be done, right? More cards in these PR packs, so it's just actually easy to get, especially the tournament PR packs. Just remember, right, we're not the same in the West. We're not the same as Japan, right? We don't have good public transport that works that is on time, or like, you know, in America's case, I don't think you have any trains. Yeah, it's a trek for us to get to our locals. It needs to be worth it, right? We need to feel good. And I think this kind of solves that. You know, more players would want to be going to local shops, going, oh, more traffic, that's great for us, and kind of gets that vibe back, where, you know, people go, okay, Bushiroad products, very, very cool, right? Also, just before I end, I know a lot of people did say, how about we just make a reprint set and just stuff all the PRs there? And I think the key thing is that reprint sets don't sell well. In the past, you just see shops have either reprint sets just sitting there. No one wants to buy it. I don't think it's a great solution. And then shops will be going like, in the future, we just buy less of these reprint sets, and we still end up back in the same situation where there's not enough stock, right? So yeah, I think there's more cards in PR packs. Reprint the PRs as well. Let players know when these PRs are being reprinted. That is the most important thing. And I think we kind of just solved this PR issue. And the sooner that it's done, the better. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'll see you guys next video. All right, bye.